Okay, great. So last time we finished teaching sort of principle number 2, that God is one. I taught you this whole thing. And then Nicole gave an amazing Devar Torah, which she only gave it to me. And she's supposed to write it, but she hasn't. So pretty much we were saying that God is pure light, right? If you look at pure light, then you're going to go blind because it's just too much. So what does God do? He refracts himself in ways so that you could understand it. This is the way that he manages the world. In other ways, in Kabbalah, this would be known as Sefirot, right? But now we're saying when the light refracts, it refracts into every single color. It refracts into every possibility. Now, sometimes you perceive God in a certain way. Sometimes you perceive God in a different way. But at the end of the day, being that everything is coming from the same point, then everything is pretty much the same. You understand? And not only that, but we said that God, the Pasuk says that God formed the light and created darkness. So what did we say about this? Forming means taking something pre-existent and giving it a different shape, right? By the way, if you ever do like Lego, you know, you already have the pieces and you give it a form. You could do two crazy different Lego things with the same exact shapes, you know? And you're like, wait, are you really using the same blocks? Yes, you are. That's exactly life. God could form his light in whatever way he wants, in a way that sometimes you're not even going to perceive that this is God. But really, it is just the same essence being brought in a different way, right? But then we said, what is darkness? God created darkness. When you create something, it's making something out of nothing, which also means that anything that is created is dependent on the creator, which also means is not. It is not. Because it doesn't really exist. It is not absolute, it is relative, and it is totally dependent. And then we end up with a line that was so nice, and I have to write it on my computer. We said that's exactly what the purpose of darkness is. The purpose of darkness is to not allow you to see the light that is already there. Yeah, that was like the highlight. The light that is already there, right? And then Nicole came and said something so amazing. She said, really, what is light, pure light? When all of the colors are being reflected, yes? We could see God in all of its essence. This is when you get clarity in life. This is when everything is going well. What is darkness? No colors are being reflected. It's totally absorbed. You understand? When there's no reflection of God in this world, because pretty much we do not allow it to be. So why there was a famous thing in Facebook, just 2 more ideas about this, and we move to principle number 3. This is like when you're thankful for Facebook, because sometimes it says something smart, you know what I'm saying? So like, thank you, Facebook, okay? So this is when you're not getting like Kim Kardashian's pictures. Sometimes you get something deep. But there was once a discussion between a professor and all of his students. So the professor said, do you guys believe there's God? So the student said, yes. So what did the professor say? No, there's no God. Because if there would be God, how could you have so much evil in the world? So one of the students raised up his hand, which apparently they say was Albert Einstein, who knows, right? And he lifts up his hand and he says, Professor, do you believe in cold? And he said, yes. He said, Professor, you're making a mistake. Cold doesn't exist. You cannot measure more cold or less cold. In physics, you can only measure existence or lack of heat. What is cold? Cold is when you don't have heat, right? Then he said, Professor, do you believe in darkness? He said, yes. He said, Professor, you're making a mistake again. You cannot measure darkness, but rather you measure darkness on existence or lacking of light. Darkness is not a thing that exists, right? And then he said, Professor, is there a God? He said, no. He said, you make a mistake again. Evilness is lack of God. And by the way, you could see this from the Torah, which is pretty amazing. But at the same time, the first time that people sinned, right? When was the first sin of the Torah? Adam and Hava, they sinned, right? They ate from the tree. What does the Pasuk says right away? They hide from God. They weren't able to see God. You know when sin comes? You know when evilness comes? When you're not able to see God in your life. But if you ever think about it, and I said this, when do you hide? You know, what does it mean that God hid? The concept of hiding means that I was completely revealed before. Because I only hide so that you are not able to see me. That means that before I was hiding, you were able to see me. But sometimes you don't see what is there because you don't want to, right? As we said the other day, if I don't turn on the light in my life, I'm not going to see God. That doesn't mean God is not there. It just means that I lack the ability to see. And that's exactly what happens with everyone in life. We lack the ability to see because we choose not to see. You know, in the same way we see in the Megillat Esther, right? When there was all of this suffering going on the Jewish people and Haman wanted to kill us and whatever, if you don't know the story, I'll tell it to you later. At some point it says, And that night, the king was not able to sleep, right? We have a tradition that says that anytime it says the word Hamelech, which means the king, instead of just king, it is God. You know, because in Hebrew, Ha makes it like the pizza. You understand? Okay? This is, I mean, not that I'm comparing God to pizza, but I do like pizza. But I like God much more. Okay? But it's the God. So Pasuk says, what happened with God? He wasn't able to sleep, right? What does it mean he wasn't able to sleep? The fact that you're not able to sleep means you were pretending to be asleep before. Sometimes God pretends to be asleep, right? But this is not the way it always goes. Now, when you don't see God and when you don't see this, it's because God's light is being absorbed in itself. God is not allowing you to see him. But the whole point of the light being absorbed is I have to do an effort to not allow for the natural thing to happen. You understand? I'm absorbing the light. I'm doing an effort to go against what it should be. Right? This is what you have to learn in life. So at the end, what does it mean that God is one? He's the source. Everything comes from him. When I get this, my entire life changed. Let me give you one more lesson from the Torah so that you could see this. If you ever open up the Shulchan Aruch, right, which is the book of Jewish law, whatever you want to call it, the first pasuk that appears on the Shulchan Aruch is this one, okay? Shiviti, I'm going to write it big so you get this. Hashem lenegedi tamid, which pretty much means I've put Hashem before of me always. I'm going to go again. Shiviti Hashem lenegedi tamid. Everyone gets this Hebrew? Great. I've put Hashem in front of me always. Why is this the first pasuk of the Shulchan Aruch, right? Because the whole Shulchan Aruch, it's about keeping the law, doing God's will. How are you going to do this? You have to put Hashem in front of you always, right? When I lack conscience and awareness of God, I am obviously not going to do the mitzvot, right? All of mitzvot, all of keeping Torah is dependent 100% of you putting God in front of you and you being 100% aware of God. Great. Now, apart from that, there's another lesson that is taught to us through this pasuk, which you wouldn't be able to see unless you got to his class, right? And it really tells you something amazing. Now, you have to read the pasuk in a different way, so check this out. In Hebrew, the word shiviti could mean I've put in front of me, but really, right, the word shiviti comes from the word shaveh, and this is why it means I've put in front of me. Anyone knows what shaveh means? It means equal, right? I've put in front of me means this is like equal to me, like I see it eye to eye. You understand? If you ever go to a supermarket and you buy something, you say, kama se shaveh. How much is this worth, right? How much is this equal to? Okay, everyone good? Now in Hebrew, whenever you finish with an I, yes, E, whatever you want to call it in Spanish, it is, you're referring to yourself. Yes, ani, okay? Our rabbis say, read it like this. Shiviti, listen to this, which is like shaveh li, it is equal to me. Listen to this, because this is huge. It is equal to me, comma, ki Hashem lenegedi tamid, because God is in front of me always. What does it mean it is equal to me? All of life. When you have the idea that God is in front of you, all of life, it is equal to you. Whether it is bitter, whether it is sweet, whether it is nice, whether it is difficult, you're always looking good. Everything is the same because God is in front of you. When you're able to understand that God is the source of everything, right? Then you understand that whatever is going on in your life, even though the way you perceive it, that way you deal with it, because obviously some things are painful. I don't deal with pain in the same way I deal with happiness, right? But how I know it to be is the same. Because really, it is all coming from the same source. Once you get this, right, you could be going through anything in life and it's going to be shaveli. Yes, it is painful, but it is equally good. This is why the Torah says, Chayav Adam levarech ala ra que hu mevarech ala tov. A person has to bless for bad just as you bless for good. This is like a mitzvah in the Torah. Whenever something bad happens to you, I told you, we say a blessing, Baruch Dayana Emet. God is judge, the true judge, which is like God. I don't like what you did, but like, fine, you're God. But really, the Torah says a person has to bless for bad just as he would bless for good. Because at the end of the day, there's no bad, there's no good. There is just good. You understand? If I would ever say that God does something bad, that would be division. That would be a change in God. It's imperfection. There's no bad, There's no good. There is just God. You know, in Purim it says that you have to drink until you get drunk. Right, okay, you have to drink until you get drunk. And what does the Torah says? Until which degree should you drink? And it gives you like a thing. This is like a song. If you ever go to people's house in Purim, everyone is singing, you know what I'm talking about? Until he doesn't know. Anyone knows what? Almost. The difference between blessed is Mordecai and cursed is Haman. But really it also says you shouldn't know the difference between like blessed is Haman and cursed is Mordecai. You know, like sort of like this. So you're like, what? What does it mean to drink in order to get to that level? Because you're just so like drunk, you don't even know who's the good guy anymore. What does it mean? You know, this is why lots of things happen on Purim, you know. But you know what the Torah is telling you? First of all, think about what drinking is. All of your life, you really want to get to a certain place and you really want to think certain things, but you're so controlled by whatever is going on. You're controlled by your own self. You're controlled by your own fears, right? Every morning we say, Baruch atah Hashem, Matir Asurim. Thank you, God, that you free prisoners. It is not only talking about people that are in jail, it is talking about yourself. You're a prisoner of your thought. You're a prisoner of your belief. You're a prisoner of your society. You're a prisoner of all of these things. Now we know that the whole purpose of wine is that it not inhibits. What is the opposite of inhibits? Disinhibits? That's good, okay. Disinhibits you in a way that you feel free. Yes? There's no more being a prisoner. Now you're able to let go, and now you're able to stop being a control freak. When you're drinking, you just don't have any control, right? Now, on a certain sense, this is not so good for people that don't know how to drink, or for people, I don't mean don't know how to drink. I mean, there are some tricks on drinking, you know. Before you drink something, you take some milk. Milk makes it like that. I am not giving you any advice. But what is the point, right? So on the wrong side, what do people do when they drink? They allow themselves to do whatever they want because they're drunk, so they have no control. And I had a friend that wrote a whole article on being Shomer Nagia. It was called Sober Nagia. You only have to be Shomer Nagia when you're sober. You know, if you're drunk, then it's okay. So people just get drunk because then you can let go. You can do whatever you want. You know, let go of your inhibitions. That's the wrong side. On the other side, if you ever notice, every time we have a Jewish thing, you drink. There's always wine. Okay, you don't get drunk, but you drink. Why do you drink? Because the whole point is you're not able to connect to the maximum level as long as you're in your whole physical controlled way. You're not able to. So on Shabbat, you have an extra soul. How do you connect? Let go a little bit, right? On Purim, which is supposed to be the highest day of connection with God, you drink a lot. So that you let go of those inhibitions, but in the most kosher, positive way, because you're allowed to be connected in an emotional way. You're just letting go, and sometimes your body doesn't allow you. So now listen to it. When you're drinking and you're drinking and you're drinking, your mind is not working so much anymore. You allow your soul to work. And you know what your soul understands? Sometimes you want to understand how really Haman was a good thing, but you can't do it. You know, as much as you want to explain the Holocaust and this and that, pain is too much, and it will take over your mind. I always say there's a reason why your brain is higher than your heart, because your brain should dictate your heart and not the opposite way, but we all know we function on the opposite way. Many times you'll understand something logically, but if it doesn't make sense emotionally, you will just like shut off your brain. Who cares? It's just too painful, I'm not going to deal with it. But you know what happens on Purim? Huge. On Purim, the brain is shut off. And therefore, the soul, it's able to take over. The soul, it's able to understand. And you know what happens? You drink until you get to this point that you don't know who's blessed and who's cursed, because in reality, no one is blessed or cursed. You understand? We achieve the same purpose through blessed Mordecai or cursed Haman. Haman was the greatest blessing that happened to us. Because if it wouldn't have been for Haman, we wouldn't have done Tshuva. You understand? You think of it as being so painful, but really, greatest blessing in your life. You know, if you break your leg and you meet that Jewish doctor that's, you know, good looking and has lots of money, wasn't that the greatest blessing that happened in your life? It was. But you're usually not able to see it. You might say, oh, it allowed me to have something good, but you won't say that that was good. That's the way we are. But when your soul really feels it, you understand that you could reach God from Mordecai, but you could also reach God from Haman. And for many of us, it is much more successful to reach it from Haman. You think of it as being bad. It was not bad. It was a blessing. Thank God we had Haman. Thank God we have all of these things that allow us to see what is it that we should be doing in our lives. You understand? Shiviti Hashem, when you put God in front of you and you understand He's the source, Shaveli, everything is the same to me. Everything looks good. Everything is nice. Because I understand that everything is coming from the same source. And really, it is all godly. You understand? And again, I don't always practice this, but when I do, I just change my mindset like this. I could be one day complaining about all of these things, and then one day, 1 second, it pretty much takes it's like a switch. I go like, wait, where is God? And you know what I realized? You ever think about this, which expresses exactly my point? What is darkness? Absorbed. God is not being reflected. Whenever you're having pain or doubts or complaining, it is exactly because you're not allowing yourself to express that God is there. You ever notice this? There's no God in your picture. If God would be on your picture, in 1 second you would be in a different mood. 1 second. You would still be going through pain, but your mood and your understanding would be exactly different. The moment you allow that darkness in your life, if you would really think about it, you would be that. Why is that darkness happening? Because you're blocking the whole existence of God in your life. You're just blocking. He's just not there. Because if you would allow Him to be there, I could guarantee you, you wouldn't be going through that darkness. Guaranteed. The darkness would look to you in a whole different way. And you know this because there are people that go through things that are like crazy painful, and when they have God, they even look at them as something good, and you're like, for real? You understand? But even you, how could it be? Because when I allow colors to express, I am able to see whatever is going through in different ways. There's lots of colors, so I'm able to see it in a different way. But when I don't allow any of God to be expressed in my life, there's no colors. There's just one thing, darkness. I don't see anything else. Just like the last thing, and then I'm really going to principle number 3, but really, I really like talking about this idea, but fine, I'm going back to the 13 principles. The Torah teaches us this from the Torah. At some point, you remember Abraham and Sarah are married for a really, really long time. They have no children, okay, whatever. So Abraham and Sarah are going down to Abimelech, and suddenly they stop and they are washing their face in the water, right? So Abraham says, oh my God, now I know that you're beautiful, which is a whole speech in itself. Like, hello, were you wearing sunglasses the whole time? How did you not notice she was beautiful? I have a whole class on this, but it is not what I'm teaching right now. And then he says, please say that you're my sister so that they will not kill me in order to have you, okay? So Rashi says, why does the Torah comes to tell you exactly now that he found her so beautiful? And he said, and Rashi answers, because when people are traveling, they usually don't look good. This is the way it goes. Like literally, you come from El Al flight after 15 hours, you smell bad, you look bad. If you come with a baby, you look like a painting. There's stuff all over you, there's burp over here, there's poop over there, there's whatever. It's just why should I change my clothing? I'm just gonna get more clothing dirty, I'm just like, Chevy, I love you. I have symbols of you all over me. It is so special. Yesterday, I have no idea how Chevy does this because she's just a genius. I really think Yeshaya didn't close the bottle well, but he's blaming Chevy. You know what I'm saying? He takes the women's side, but she opened up the bottle and threw everything on top of her at 10 p.m. And I was like, for real? But then I went to see her and she looked so cute. She looked like she had little dew on her hair. She had oatmeal with milk all over. It was so cute. So then I took her to shower with all of her clothing. It was a very special moment. Okay, the point is, right? So literally, what does it say? When you're traveling, you don't look good, okay? So Abraham noticed, hey, hello, you're traveling. Not only do you not look bad, you still look pretty. You must be really pretty, who travels and look good? Only Kate Middleton looks good the day after she gave birth. You know what I'm saying? Okay, this is life. But then, if you look deeper, it's telling you an amazing lesson for life, right? You know what it's telling you? This Rabbani Yamima Mizrahi said this, right? You know what it's telling you? When life takes you from place to place and you have no idea what's going on, when you're on the way, you know what on the way means? You want something, but you're not there, right? You're confused. You don't know where God is taking you. You don't know what's going on. You don't know what's going to be tomorrow. You do not look good. Because there's nothing more dangerous and more painful to a person than being in a state of unknown. I always say this. The hardest stage in life is to be in a state of unknown, which, by the way, will happen to you every day, okay? Because God does this so that you'll develop emunah, and that's a topic on itself. But we don't really like it. Meaning, if you would know you're getting married in 5 years, you might consider it late, but okay, I'll go party, you understand? But because you don't know when you're going to get married, you don't know what choices to make, because like you have to think about marriage, and like what happens if I never get married? You're going to get married, but what happens if I get, it's like the most scary thing. If you know you're married and you're going to get pregnant tomorrow or in 5 years, okay, could be hard to not have babies for 5 years, but I'm going to do laser, I'm going to go, all over the world, I'm going to party. But if I don't know I'm going to get pregnant, first of all, there's the fear, maybe I'll never get pregnant, but you can also not move on with your life. Because you cannot even take a vacation with your husband because maybe you'll get your period. You understand? Like, life is complicated, right? So Torah tells you, Sarah, she looked pretty, even when she was traveling. By the way, if someone was traveling in life, this is Sarah. She didn't have children till 19, till 90. 19 would be pretty young, okay? She didn't have children till 90, okay? She shared her husband with her maid, which was really the Egyptian princess, just so you know, right? She was always struggling. She was always going places. People were always doubting what she was doing, She was doing what she thought was right, but how do I really know if God thinks I'm so righteous, why doesn't, right? But she looked beautiful. You know what Rabbanit Yemima Mizrahi said? You know why she looked beautiful? How do you say beautiful in Hebrew? Pretty? Yafa, right? So Rabbanit Yemima Mizrahi says you could divide this word into two. Ya-po. Which really, one of the names of God is, yeah? Check this out. God is here. You know how you're going to look pretty when you're traveling? When you have God in there. That's the only way you could look pretty. You understand? That was the beauty of Sarah. She had constant awareness of what God is at every second of her life. God is one. And even when I'm going through that greatest suffering in my life, at 90 years I don't have children, this is really good for me. Not only this is good for me, this is just good. This is pure light. I have no idea why, but hello, we count with this married 5,000 years later because she was able to deal with this. You understand this? Beautiful. Any questions of this topic? I mean, I could pretty much give you a series, which I did last year. Nicole came to some of them, you tell them, right? But we don't have time. But I do have an amazing series called Find the Meaning in Suffering.